sweet line. Sheriff Miller by his side. Lively blue red, heart's blood.
Brought to you by Big Rapids Tire, Zott's Bar and Grill, Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes, M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing, and by M&M Collision Center.
Smiled every Wednesday morning. I look forward to the show because of the introduction, and then after that, I really look forward to our guest star. And Brian does a fabulous job getting me some great people in here that really, I feel after the show has inspired somebody, and a lot of people out there, actually, not just somebody, but a lot of people. But before we get started this morning, I want to touch base with John Allshouse out there. You know, John Allshouse was in the Lions Club for many, many years. We could talk about that forever. But he is very adamant and very, very big into the Lions Club, you might just say the simplest word, on this golf outing coming up on June 10th at Clear Lake Golf Club. I just want to give him a little plug this morning because he's called me 3 or 4 times, getting me to give him different people's names and stuff. Just recently, Saturday, we had 160-some golfers out to the sheriff's departments for the dog, canine dog. Unbelievable people out there and supporting this cause. All the causes in Big Rapids, which I know everybody has their favorite ones. I have all my favorite ones, but one of them is the Lions Club. I used to be a Lions Club member.
Me too.
I tell you, it's dear to my heart for what these guys do. It's all volunteer. There's no nobody's getting any money for it. Nobody. There's no administrative costs. It's all volunteers. John's probably, if not, the biggest volunteer in the Lions Club. It's dear to his heart. And believe me, he's had heart problems, but God's keeping him around for a reason. I think this is it. I'll get to my point. On June 10th at Clear Lake Golf Club, you get a chance to support not just the Lions Club, but what their mission is. That is what you're going to be supporting. Do you realize Michigan Works? Everybody knows what Michigan Works is. It's a helpful hand for a lot of people. Well, the Lions Club last year, I believe, gave them $12,000. And you think, why would they give Michigan Works $12,000? It's designated to help John Doe to get to work. If his car breaks down and he needs an alternator at Pennzoil, one of our sponsors, or Big Rapids Tire, one of our sponsors, they'll pay them for that alternator if this guy is in good faith on really, truly needing that alternator to get to work. Or gas money. They help them with gas money. It's dispersed by Michigan Works. Lions Club can't do that because they don't have anybody in their office because they don't have an office. Every dollar goes to glasses for the needy. And they help Feed America every Saturday. The Lions Club guys are out there volunteering. They volunteer every year for the Angels of Action's chicken
barbecue.
Fair. Yeah, you know, just volunteer. So now I'll shut my mouth on this. But if you get a chance, get a hold of John Allshouse or get online, go to Big Rapids Lions Club, or just call Kelly at Clear Lake. Sign up for this very important date, June 10th. Of all of the necessary things you do in life, if you really want to help somebody, help the Lions golf outing, all the money goes to helping people, and who knows, someday you might need their help. Enough said. You know, we've had a guest on here. And I love people. Everybody knows I love people. And you know, if I smile, I really enjoy that person. This person came in the gas station the other day. Brian's already had him set up. About a month ago, I said, Brian, maybe whatever.
Right.
And I said, well, let's have Andy Brockema on with him. Andy's a Chippewa Hills basketball.
No.
Chippewa, Central Michigan Chippewa's basketball coach now at Left Ferris State. And he was... really important to Big Rapids. He's a great parent, great friend. So I thought, well, we'll have him on too. And Andy said, no, I don't want to take nothing away from, and I'm talking about Brooks Miller, folks. He's the new Ferris State Bulldog basketball coach. Okay, that's fine. So Brooks comes in the station. I invite him to sit down with all the guys at the mayor's table. And you know what? Within 1 second, I said to God, thank you. The parents of Brooks did a great job raising this young man. Just within 30 seconds, you could tell something special about this guy. You know what that special thing was? Real. It comes when he speaks, it comes from the heart. He's very passionate about what he's going to do at Ferris State University. He has a great background, and I talked to him about his background, and I'll shut up in just a few minutes here. I really will, I promise, because I'm going to let him take the mic. But I want you folks to listen to Brooks' story, because his story not only is his story, it's America's story. You can do it. You can do it. You know, if you're in 12th grade graduating this year and you don't know what you're going to do, have faith. Brooks has faith. That didn't just come overnight. He was raised that way. He had great parents. And I tell you what, I like his parents more than I do him, because now it's his turn to do it generation underneath him, his two kids, which he'll talk about in a moment. But anyway, I was telling my daughter-in-law, Mackenzie and Amanda, both of my daughter-in-laws last night, you got to listen to tomorrow's show. You got to listen to tomorrow's show, because not only are we going to talk about basketball, but we're going to talk about faith. The faith that this man has been brought up in, the environment that the good Lord has shared with him to do a mission. I think the mission that he has is greater than just basketball. I think he has a greater mission. I think the mission that he has in life is coming to Ferris State, not only to lead us to the best we can be, but every one of those individuals that's going to be playing for him is going to be the best person they can be in life. So good morning, Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Pat. Thanks for the kind words.
Well,
That was an introduction.
well, I'm just telling you, it comes because I bleed life.
Yeah.
And this morning going to work, I love my daughter, I love my sons, but my daughter and I go to work every day, and it's gloomy doomy today. And when you're older you get, the gloomier sometimes it gets, and you think, what the hell's this all about? Come on, God, give us some sunshine. And my daughter Abby says, Dad, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Tomorrow is going to be a better day. I said, but Rose, I want to live today. And she goes, you live today for tomorrow, Dad. I said, that's true, Abby. Thank you. And that made me smile. But anyway, great morning for you to be on, because we do need a ray of sunshine. I'm going to ask you some questions, off-the-wall questions. But first of all, I want everybody out there, our viewers, to know who Brooks Miller is. Where did Brooks Miller come from? When was he born? Who are his parents? What kind of school did you go to? What kind of college you go to? We're going to go from one to one.
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate the kind words about my parents. Those guys were my heroes. So, but I can't talk about my parents without talking about my grandparents. I grew up in, you talked about the Lions Club. I grew up in a small rural community. We had 3 villages that formed a school district, Metamora, Berkey, and Lyons. And we had one stoplight within a 20-mile radius of where we grew up. So I grew up on a small pig farm, but my grandparents, I also grew up war vets. So there was nothing more fun than Sundays after church or the Easter egg hunts, or my favorite holiday that's coming up here, Memorial Day, where you go out to the cemetery, have mass. I grew up in obviously Catholic war vets, so Catholic background, and having mass outside and seeing the 21 gun salute and picking up all the shells after they were done. Those are some of the coolest things that I ever enjoyed. And going from the Catholic war vets in Assumption, Ohio, where our church was, and then going to Lyons to the VFW to do the same thing a couple hours later, and then to Amboy Cemetery in Metamora to honor all the people that have given us the opportunity to coach basketball. Think about what we're able to do coaching basketball and playing sports, whether it's football, basketball, anything that you do. That's what makes our country so great, is because we value the competitive spirit. I think there's nothing more important than we can teach than accountability, competitiveness, and understanding that we have to respect each other with wherever we come from, whether you grow up in a small town in Northwest Ohio, in a bigger town like Big Rapids, or when I played at the University of Toledo, the adjustments I made my freshman year going there. So there's a lot of different things, and there's nothing like a locker room, because in the locker room, nobody cares what you look like, how much money your parents made, or, you know, how do you contribute to winning? How do you help the group? And I think when you're in sports, and we value that so much in this country, we learn so many lessons through that help guide us into everything we do. You know, I think I mentioned the other day, I've pretty much lived my dream. I was able to be a part of a university at Trine University where we had great leadership. We went all the way and won the 2024 national championship. My 95-year-old grandma was there with my cousin in the front row. I gave her a big hug and a kiss on national television. So to me, everything moving forward is all about how do I help these guys live their hopes and dreams? You know, what can we do to contribute in that way? And I think having a chance to work for Coach Bronkema last year at Central Michigan and, you know, the things I've been able to learn from him when I was at Trine, him and I got really close. And after they won their national championship in 2018, we really got closer. And we had Drew Lehman as my assistant at Trine, who played. So we had a lot of ties there. Coach Saul coached me. He was here, had an unbelievable career here at Ferris State, but he coached me and recruited me to Hillsdale College, where I graduated from. And never did I value or appreciate my education from Hillsdale College more than I did about 5 or 6, 7, 8 years ago. So the things that I was able to learn there and help share with our players when things get, the values that you have to have. You have to create an identity of when things get tough, who am I? What do I have to resort back to? Who am I? What can I be? And I think we do that with our teams. We do that with our families. But, you know, sports teach you all those things. So I am just truly blessed and honored to be the head coach here at Ferris State, and thankful because I'm learning from them too. I continue to learn. I'm 46 years old, so that means I was born in 1980. And I have a younger brother and sister. My sister played college basketball at Tri-State University, which became Trine. And my brother, he went a different route. He went to Four County, and he started his own diesel mechanic business, but he was also a race car driver, so he was competitive in a different way, where my sister and I played basketball, and she played volley, I played football. We played all 3 sports, whatever we could play. My brother went a different route, and he's having a ton of success now. And my mom still lives back in Metamora, Ohio. She's on city council, and every time I get a chance to go back there, my high school friends, I'm with them as much as I possibly can. I just talked to 2 of them on the way from Curries gas station. And so that's kind of my story a little bit in a lot of ways. I lost my dad when I was 15. So that community aspect was really important for our family to survive. We would not have been able to, my sister's a college graduate. I'm a college graduate. We both competed in sports at a high level. My brother runs his own business and is doing a lot of great things. So we wouldn't have been able to do that without the community at that time. So it's a place I'm really proud of. And when I got to Big Rapids, the intensity of not just the campus of Ferris State, but walking into the gas station. And Coach Bronkema told me, he goes, hey, man, you got to go to Curries. He says, the first chance you get to go to Curries, you got to go there. And I said, okay. He goes, you're going to fit right in. And I said, well, I can't wait. So it took me a little longer than I wanted, but we had to put this roster together too. So that was a little bit more challenging. But I was glad I got a chance to sit and talk with all you guys. And I'm so excited to be a part of what you're doing here, because there's so many things that are important, like the Lions Club. The things John is doing with that stuff matters. It's not the big donations that make the biggest difference. It's all the little things that keep people. And again, let's go back to the education side of things. We don't want to give somebody, when you give things away, when you just give things away, it's unappreciated. But when you help and you lead with a gas card for maybe a young man who's on scholarship here but can't quite afford to go back and forth to Detroit, who needs to see his mom or his dad for a weekend, something like that. Just the little things that contribute to not just our players, but within the community with the Michigan Works programs. Those things are so special and unique, and we have that in America. And I think that's what's so great about our country, is that people leave here and they go to New York City. They go down to Jacksonville in Florida. They go to Texas and work, and they can still, when they go there, people learn about how great Big Rapids is, or how great Metamora, Ohio was. So those are the things I try to teach our players, that it's about developing an identity, being proud of who you are. I invest in a lot of things in our program that I think are really important. One is food and nutrition. That's significant. You know, you want a nice car, you want to get somewhere, you're going on a trip, you're not going to throw Mountain Dew in the gas tank, right? You know, you're going to make sure you get to where you need to go. So we're going to give the guys everything they need to be successful when it comes to nutrition. Gear, you know, you're a walking billboard. You are a representative of not just Ferris State, but Big Rapids. Oh, and by the way, your family. And those are things that are really important. Everywhere you go, it's an opportunity to show people who you are as more than just a basketball player. And I think the other thing is, if we can invest in assistant coaches that can really help provide them another experience, another individual that can share their life and build their network and grow. I think that's significantly important, because I've had so many great mentors in my life. I told you at the gas, I felt like Forrest Gump for a while. I had Coach Dalma, who won a national championship at Calvin, was my head coach at Hillsdale College. Coach Joplin was a great coach. And the staff there was tremendous. Tony Jones as an assistant, Monty Mathis, Tim Salyers, all guys that helped me in a lot of different ways through hard times as a freshman in college. But then I get to go and work for Bob Knight as a graduate assistant. Tech.
That was a question I had.
So I have, I coach night, 3 national championships. I got really close on that staff with Chris Beard. Him and I he's had a lot of success in college basketball, taking Texas Tech all the way to the national championship game a few years ago. And the most important man in my life when it comes to men is probably my high school coach, Jerry Kiefer. So him and I are real close. I talk to him 3-4 times a day, but those are people that matter. And I think Andy and I really were very similar in that way. When Coach Bronkma and I started, we had the same similar background. He had Coach Elders. He had Coach Copeman. Guys that really helped mold him, helping him help others. And I think where Coach Bronkma and I really were on the same page is we're trying to pay it all forward. Whether we're at Central Michigan, here at Ferris State, or if I'm coaching junior high at the local Catholic school, that's the things I'm trying to do. Use the platform to help those young people improve their lives, and then really just learn about what's really important.
Wow.
I got one word.
You bet. Yeah, I have a lot of it.
What? Yeah. Oh, I wasn't referring to you. But
Well, I'll tell you what. We have a lot of stories coming from you this morning.
Yeah.
And this is probably going to go past 10 o'clock.
Yep.
But I love the energy in here right now.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, your mother,
Yes.
what part did she have in molding you into who
Toughness.
you are today?
Absolute toughness. I mean, she worked when we were kids. So my dad worked part-time at the hospital as an x-ray tech, and we had a small pig farm. So we had anywhere from 80 to 130 pigs. We farmed anywhere from 275 to 350 acres. So nothing you were going to make a ton of money on, but we needed insurance. We didn't have any full-time insurance. So my mom would work at the hospital for like $3.75 an hour, and she would pull basically nothing home because she was the one, by having that full-time LPN job, that got us the insurance. And then she ended up going back to school, got her RN, and she just retired a few years ago. But toughness was through the roof.
Who were her folks? And were they from down there?
Wayne and Teresa Farnsell. So Teresa was my 95-year-old grandmother that I talked about. She just passed away a couple months ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were real close. So, but it was, but that was kind of the experience. We kind of understood that, hey, there's a job to get done. It doesn't matter whether it's gloomy out, which is great sometimes, because if you don't have the gloom, you don't appreciate the sunshine.
That's right.
So those days are good too. I tell everybody, when I get in the locker room, hey guys, it's Monday. You better make it the best Monday you can, because you only get one a week. So you better enjoy the hell out of it. But yeah, my grandma and grandpa were huge. She was a beautician, so she cut my hair for free. We like to cut some corners too. So when it came to saving money or whatever it was. But yeah, so my grandma and I were real close. Now my grandma Miller and Grandpa Miller were my dad's side. They were hardcore farmers, but they passed when I was 9. But I always tell people they loved each other so much. My grandpa died in June, and my grandma couldn't take it that much longer, so she passed away about 4 or 5 weeks later. So
that's how it works.
They were real
How
close.
old were they then?
They were in their late 70s.
Okay.
They were in their late 70s, but he was a farmer, and she just supported him on the farm. So that was the farm we ended up moving to after they passed. And we lived there in the house. My brother lives there now, and he actually farms it. So.
Oh, the diesel mechanic?
Yeah, yep. So he farms it on the side as a part-time thing.
Wow. So you guys, your grandparents both sides had pig farms then?
Yes. Well,
that area is a lot of pig farmers then?
A little bit. There were just a lot of small. So my aunt and uncle, they had cows. But the Farnsell side of the family, he actually worked in a factory, and my grandma was the beautician. It was just the Miller side. That was the farming side on that.
We're going to go back and forth with your life a little bit here.
Yeah.
Cousins. You had a lot of cousins?
Cousins. I had cousins that were like uncles. So my dad was a mistake. His sister was 20 years older than him. So all of my cousins were like uncles to me because they were real close with him. And there was 4 boys with one of the families, and then he had a brother that was 10 years older than him. But it's super close. We always were at each other's house. I mean, it was every night somebody was. You just looked down the country road and you saw who was coming. And you could tell. All right. And it was a blast. I was able to sit up. Some of the things you learn the most as a kid is when your aunts and uncles come over and they're hanging with your parents in the kitchen, having a couple of beers, and you're just sitting there listening to them. And I think that had a lot to do with me developing my ability to communicate and not being afraid to share how I feel or put those things out there. So real fortunate in that. My one cousin, we joked the other day. His name was Jeremy Miller. He was on the 1997 Michigan National Championship football team as a long snapper. So my dad's brother actually passed away at a young age, too. So Jeremy and Jamie and Dave and Jeff were a little bit older. They were in high school when it happened. So it was a tough transition there. But Jeremy was trying to find his way on a team, to be a part of a team. And he is with him, and I don't think he's going to have a problem with me saying this, but he is easily the worst athlete in the history of the Big Ten to start in a football game. He's about 6'2". He was probably 245 pounds, only bench pressed about 165, ran probably a 6'3", 40, but he could snap a ball.
Cooper.
He could snap a football, and he took so much pride in that, and he built some great relationships in high school. He was on a high school team that almost won the national championship. They came up one game short, and he was the kicker ended up going to Michigan, and he was a year old. Cousin, and I'll try to sum this up as quick as I can.
No, take your time.
But
because I'm going to back up a little bit. What made him be a long snapper and not a guard or a tackle? But you alluded to the fact he wasn't that great of an athlete.
Right, absolutely.
I love this story.
Well, he wanted to develop an identity, right? Okay. He wanted to be a part of the team. He wanted to do whatever he could to be a part of a team. And he knew that the only chance he had was to get really good at something nobody else wants to do.
How old was he when he started long snap?
Probably 16. 16, and
worked every day on it? Or?
Every day in the basement. He would spend hours. He'd put Dixie cups. We had one of those we were in Northwest Ohio, but it was one of those old Michigan basements where the ceiling's only about 5 foot tall, and we had a mini hoop down there, and we're ducking and playing, but he would set up, and he'd try to get angles and stuff. We'd be at somebody's house at a party, and we'd be setting cans or whatever up, and he'd snap a football, try to knock it right off the fence post or whatever. I mean, he just took so much pride in that. And then his senior year, the kicker that was on the team the year before was a walk-on at Michigan, and they did not have a long snapper. They were awful that year, so that would have been 95 or 96. And he said, hey, you got to go look at my buddy. You're not going to be impressed with what he looks like, but he really snap a football. So he goes up there. We go on a visit. We sit in the front row. He takes me with him on his official visit to Michigan. We're in the front row of the Michigan-Iowa game. That's what I think Tractor Trailer and Lewis Bullock and those guys were playing then. So and I was a Michigan fan because of him, even before that. But anyway, he ends up going to Michigan and walking on the first year. Doesn't play. They redshirt. And they don't really think he's ever going to play just because he just can't do anything when it comes to the things you measure, all the measurables. But the guy that's ahead of him is his next year, so his official freshman year, it's costing $28,000 for him to go to school at Michigan because he's out of state. And they were pinching every penny to make this work. It's really an incredible story. He hangs in there. The guy ahead of him's a Mormon. He finds out in late July he's got to go on a mission trip. So now, boom, he's plugged in. His first game is against Notre Dame, who is everybody else in his family's favorite team. We grew up a Catholic family. Notre Dame was huge. And he's snapping from the 2-yard line into the end zone. And at the end of the game, they end up winning the game. They kicked 5 field goals. That snap was successful. And after the game, Michigan doesn't start class until after Labor Day. And this was back when you played like at the end of August, their Michigan-Notre Dame game. And Coach Carr gave him a scholarship that day. And it was one of the coolest things ever for our family and for him. I tell people, I can't even watch the movie Rudy, because Rudy is 10 times the athlete of my cousin. To have such a great career at the University of Michigan. I think he was part of 4 Big Ten championship teams, Orange Bowl victory. They won the Rose Bowl that year. He was a redshirt that year, but he was a part of the team. His relationships with Tom Brady. I mean, there's a whole movie behind this thing. It's really remarkable. But it was just a really cool experience. But that was real motivating for me because when you're from a great place like a Big Rapids or a Metamora, Ohio, it's hard to leave because there's so much love there. And there's so much pride in what you're doing there. It's hard to really want to go look and see where other opportunities were. But his ability to do that gave me the confidence to get out there and say, you know what? I'm going to go to Hillsdale College, or I'm going to go down to Texas and work for Bob Knight. I can always come back and contribute, which I always plan to do someday. That's where I'll end up at some point. But yeah, to have those opportunities, and he helped motivate me in that way.
That's awesome.
Wow, I love that story. I didn't tell my daughter-in-laws or my sons what the story was. I said, but I'm going to have a guy on tomorrow, but the story he's got about his cousin is unbelievable. But more importantly, what it tells you, Bob, everybody could be anybody if anybody really cares to be in somebody, right?
Oh, well,
I mean, that guy...
I didn't know what a millionaire was except for on TV. And this is where I can kind of relate people that, they want to see somebody that looks like them succeed in a certain role. Like, I never thought that was possible. One of my best friends, we always thought he was the richest guy we ever knew. And knowing what I know now, they were really successful parents, great place, it was awesome. But, all you had to do was just decide that you wanted to be successful in whatever it is. And it's not about money, right? I'm just using a millionaire as an example. But anything is achievable if you're willing. Everybody thinks they work hard. So I've never yet to meet somebody that says, yeah, you know, coach, I want to be an all-conference player, but I still plan on being pretty lazy and doing this or that. I mean, everybody, it's really a relative term. It's really what you're willing to sacrifice. What are you willing, where are you willing to take the energy you have, and what direction do you want to put it in? And I think with me, in my life, I've always put it towards people, kind of like you, Pat. I love meeting new people. Recruiting is my favorite thing to do. It's the most gut-wrenching, too, because you build these relationships, and not everybody's going to say yes. Or you build the relationships, and you realize maybe that guy's not the right fit. But I love meeting people. I love trying to help them on their journey. And I think that when you decide, this is the way I want to go, this is the way I want to live. You talked about John Allshouse, what he's giving to the Lions Club. That's what he is passionate about. That's his way to really contribute to society in such a positive way and to leave his mark. So I think if you want to make $1 million or multi-million dollars, whatever it is, and you want to start a foundation someday, like some people I've been fortunate enough to be around, the chairman of our board at Trine University, I was talking about mentors, Rick and Vicki James. I can't talk about Rick without talking about Vicki. Came from a very humble background, and really basically was able to form with a lot of guts and tough and taking chances, one of the top Fortune 500 company, and Metal Technologies Incorporated. And what he's done with that money is give it to everyone else. And I think those are things he just decided that this is what I'm going to do. This is the route I'm going to take. This is what God wants for me. He wants me to be able to help others through being successful in business. And in my path is coaching. Like I said, it doesn't matter what platform I have, whether I'm a D2 coach, a D1 coach, or a junior high or high school coach, I can still contribute that way. And those are the things I want to teach the guys. You know, let's figure out, these 4 years are about you networking and figuring out who you are, and finding out more about yourself and what you can be good at and what you want to avoid. You know, what are the hardest thing for a guy full of testosterone from 18 to 25 is to realize, hey, you know what? I'm not that good at something, but I am really good here. So that self-awareness is something I think is really important to any team that you're on, family or whatever you're a part of. So those are things that we really value: respect, awareness, all of those things that really make a difference in no matter what walk of life you decide to go down.
Wow. Go ahead, Brian.
On the stand.
Oh, no.
No, we got a long, this is awesome.
Let's talk about Mom for a minute then. Mom worked hard.
Yes.
Was she an athlete? I know we're talking.
She was. Now, they couldn't play basketball then, so she had to cheerlead. But yes, they had her and all her friends who their kids are my best friends and everything. You know, they were all cheerleaders, and she played softball too. So I got to watch my mom play a lot of softball. I watched my dad play softball. You know, one of the things with my parents had me when they were about 22, 23, somewhere in that age. So I got to actually watch them compete in sports. So I saw it in a little bit different light, and it made me value it in a different way. My wife Gretchen and I didn't have our son Champ until we were about 32, and we have a daughter Jordan who's 8, Champ's 12 now, and it was a little past my prime to physically go out there and compete. Now he's seen me in a couple of instances, but you know, they get to see me in a coaching standpoint. So I think if you meet my kids, what you're going to see is you're going to see people that are willing, they want to help their classmates, or they want to contribute to, you know, they like people too. But I think that, you know, you talk about my mom and my dad, seeing those guys in that realm was important to me to want to be great at something as well as a player. So, but no, my mom and I are really close. It became almost like a partnership after my dad passed because, you know, things had to get done. We had a farm. We had these pigs. We had 2 younger kids. She had to work. I was still going to play football, basketball, and baseball, and my brother and sister were still heavily involved. We had to get to church on Sundays. And when you're a nurse, you're working every other weekend and things like that. But again, we had my cousins. We had my grandparents. We had the other farmers in the community, Mike Holland, and people like that just were there to contribute to us. So if you watch us play, you're going to see a really team style of play. And it may be a little bit tougher to get to that right away. But where we evolve in a motion offense, we don't have a lot of plays. We talk about sharing the ball, moving the ball. Defensively, we switch a lot. We rotate a lot. We are so dependent on each other, because I think that's one lesson they can take with them when they leave here. And it's the best way to go. It's still about surrounding yourself with people that make you better, no matter what you're doing. We get to use basketball to help them teach that. And again, that's what I continue to talk about this country. It is the value we put on these things and the little things that these kids are learning now with youth sports all the way up that it really makes a difference. It's all about a team. And the only people that stand out in the locker room, like I mentioned earlier, are the selfish ones. Everybody can tell you who the selfish guy is. But when it comes to everything, the successful teams are about how do I find a way to contribute to winning like my cousin did at Michigan.
Yeah. How about your dad? What was his favorite sport?
That's a good question. He didn't play football. He always wanted to. He blames it on his mom that she wouldn't let him after his sophomore year. The football coach, he said, came to his house and he tried to get him to let her play, but he couldn't do it. I never really bought that story. I think he had to work though too. So in the fall, there was a lot of work going on as well. But he loved basketball. Tim Selgo, who was the AD at Grand Valley for a long time, him and Tim used to play against each other. So Coach Selgo grew up in Pettysville, Ohio, which is about 30 minutes from us, and they had some real battles. Both of them, I think. Coach Selgo's team was #1 in the state. I think my dad's team was like whatever they were ranked, but we still have that on video, so it's kind of a neat deal. And then Coach Selgo, he sent me a note the minute I got this job, and I've actually a lot of people that I've met through that knew my dad. Basketball. He was a really good baseball player as well, though. He was probably better at baseball, and I was probably better at baseball. I loved playing football more, but basketball, kind of get the ego. You're right there, the crowd's right there, the energy and all that. But basketball was the hardest game for me to play, which is why I think I've embraced it so much, because it takes so much energy, and it also takes concentration. You have to control your emotions in a unique way when you're on the floor to be successful. So that's one of the games I think I gravitated was more so because how difficult it is to be really good at it.
Sounds like you emulate a lot of people.
I would say, but I've been lucky to have great people in my life.
You have.
I mean, I've been real fortunate. And I remind our recruits and our players of that all the time. When I'm recruiting a guy, I want them to know there's a lot of things that I'm looking at, and a lot of it is that support system. We had this young man that was All-American for us. He was the academic American Player of the Year in the country. So imagine Division III, the most elite academic institutions, 432 of them. Jared Holmquist from Reed City, his dad, Chuck and Lori, they would still come to our games, and we'll hear, they're big Ferris State fans. But Jared, he was the academic All-American Player of the Year, and I recruited him when things were, there was a time in his sophomore year, I didn't think he was going to make it. But he had great parents at home. He had his dad at home, played at Elma, and he knew that we were challenging him and we were pushing him. I remember kicking him out of practice. I told my assistant, I said, hey, go get him. Make sure he doesn't take off, And he goes, man, I think he was close to breaking. And I look back, and I was younger. Those were some things I did that I don't do as much anymore. I was pretty hard on Jared. But he made a decision. He went back for Christmas break. And I'm telling you, I know exactly what happened. He sat with his dad. His dad sat him down and said, hey, you're going to be the best player you can be if you want to be. It doesn't matter what, any outside influences. And we had that support from Chuck and Lori, and he became one of the best players I ever coached. And he was 6'4", really wasn't that fast, really couldn't jump that high. He was just tough, smart, and he knew what he was good at. He was very self-aware, and we won a lot of games, and he helped propel our program to winning a national championship. A lot of those guys on the national championship team get all the credit, but it was really so many other players before that helped prepare us as a staff to know how to coach that group. And so there's so many people that should have got national championship rings that played for me that, and they know it. And most of them were actually at the game, which really made it really special too.
What college was that again?
I was at Trine University.
Wow. I remember Holmquist, how good he was up there, because he whooped us pretty good down here.
Yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember kind of?
Oh, he was our first recruiting class, our first real recruiting class. So I got the job in 2011. So he must have graduated in 2012. So we had him 12 through 16.
Isn't that funny? Now you're back at Ferris, and that little guy came from a little town of Reed City, which I love up there. They put out a lot of good athletes up there.
And a lot of tough people.
Yeah. So your sisters are pretty good athletes.
Yes. Yeah, my sister. Yep. My one sister, Brittany, she played basketball at Tri-State. She was tough, too. She tore ACL twice and finished her career there. She went to Florida. She had the guts to take off. She went to Florida because she had to get a teaching certificate. She couldn't get it where she was at. So she took off and went down there. She got her first head coaching job. And when you're really successful early, sometimes you get a little spoiled. And she won, I think she started her career like 115 and 17. Like she won over 85% of her games and had a lot of success in Florida, but she wanted to get back closer to home. She wanted to start a family and be closer to us. And then she took over at our old high school. And actually she was at Northview for a year, had 3 Division I players, and they had a lot of success in Sylvania, Ohio, at Sylvania Northview. And then she came back and coached at our high school and had a lot of success there too. But that quick start, that's tough to emulate for anybody. Yeah. So now she's just coaching her kids, doing AAU stuff, and being a great mom and a teacher back at Evergreen, where we graduated from.
Awesome.
We got, this show is so much fun because we have so many people who are so successful in life, like yourself. Everett right now, I think, is 28-0 on their softball.
They'll be on in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 28-0, and great coach up there. Morley Stanwood got a great volleyball coach down there, and basketball coach.
Softball.
Raven, and yeah, all of that in Big Rapids. My God, this year the baseball team is winning the conference, I believe.
4 years in a row.
Yeah. So is it the heart or is it the natural ability, do you think, is more important on beginning to be a champion? Does a kid need to have the heart or natural ability? I know they need both, but what's really more important? Because the reason I say that is I've listened to Andy Brockman for many years. I love the guy. I love Bill Saw. I love Corey Anderson. Tom Ludwig was my hero. Tom and I are very close. And then Jim Wink, my dad and Jim Wink were best friends. They played cards every Wednesday night. So I have affiliation with Ferris. But Andy, talking to him in the last few years, the thing I see frustration, and he doesn't get frustrated very often.
Just at the refs.
Well,
he does get on the refs pretty good.
But like he'll say, the guy's got so much ability. So much ability. We could win with this guy, but he's not a team player. Do you have that in you? You see that too, that, you know, you have this guy with the most ability, but he's just, that guy doesn't want to play as a team member, and he got rid of him. It was a few years back, and Andy came back and started winning again.
Yeah.
But he was losing a little bit there for a while with this guy because this guy thought it was all me. You need me. I don't need you.
Yeah. Well, execution matters, and in order to execute, and it's all relative to what you're competing for. You know, eventually you're going to come against an opponent in a sport, or you're going to a competitor in a business that is as talented as you, if not more. So what's going to separate you? And it is those little details. It's the discipline. It's the ability to. When I was with Coach Knight, I think what I learned more than anything from him, just being around him, was how do you win the game with everything being equal, talent being equal? What do you have to create, and how do you do that? You know, you have to create angles. You have to get easy baskets. You got to get to the free throw line. Those are things that really make a difference. And he always said the best play in basketball is 1-on-0. There's nothing better than that. So those are things I think that really make a difference. It's kind of a sliding scale. Now, as coaches, I think our job is to try to get those guys there. And I know Andy's gotten some guys there that maybe wouldn't have gotten there with anybody else other than Coach Bronkema. And I like to think that, you know, what you try to get these guys to understand is the value of contributing. And people that haven't had the opportunity to cut down a net or be the best at something, it becomes a drug. So those of us that have, it's our responsibility to try to guide them and get them to understand the value of it. Every individual is different, and I can tell you execution, and maybe it's this way at the corporate level too, but in basketball, you go up, execution becomes a little bit less, because when I was at Texas Tech, we're playing Blake Griffin and Taylor Griffin, and they had two other NBA players. They just had a great team. They went to the Elite Eight that year. But the first time we played Blake Griffin, we fronted him in the post. Oh, sorry, we played behind him. And they threw it to him, and he'd catch it, take one dribble, fake, and he would just turn and just hammer it over the top of us. There wasn't a whole lot we could do to keep him from scoring. So the next time we try to front him, try to get around him. Well, he gets 22 rebounds. I think 16 of them are offensive because we couldn't get position. So he was like a nuclear weapon. There wasn't anything we could do execution-wise with the personnel we had to defeat Blake Griffin. But when you go down the scale to different levels and you don't have as you go down, there's some type of weakness. There's something, there's a reason why, you know, he's not playing at Duke and he's playing at Central Michigan, or he's playing at Trine University and not Ferris State. So there's always something you can do collectively to help neutralize their best actions, their best players, their best whatever it is. So that execution in small college really goes a lot farther. So the tougher guys you get at any level, but you know, we can maybe sacrifice a little more physical gifts for toughness and execution and communication. But when you get to that highest level, you have to have both. I mean, you looked at Michigan this year, and that was almost the perfect team they put together. My favorite team growing up was UNLV, and they were just loaded with talent. Now, they executed a different way. They executed a style of play that was absolutely remarkable. But that, to me, and those guys were the funnest guys to watch and really made me fall in love with basketball.
But once you look at the Michigan team, what led to their success was unselfishness.
Correct.
I mean, really, I think that's what made them successful this year was the unselfishness.
That both ends. They switch a lot. Their versatility was remarkable, and the leadership there, you can just kind of see it. Coach May, just watching him on the sideline and not being in there and not watching a whole lot of games, but his ability to manage and just calmly decide, try to help these guys, in little ways, because they are so talented. So you don't want to get in their way either. I thought, I'll go back to that too. I think poise is significant. I had a police officer, he was a detective in Angola. His name was Kevin Smith. He came and spoke to our team. And he told our guys the thing that stuck out to me, and I use it all the time. He says, the prisons are full of people that can't control their emotions. And if you watch the game the other night when Wemby elbowed Naz Reid in the face, the difference in the game was Naz Reid not retaliating against Wemby. He was able to walk away from that situation, even though he was unjustly brutalized in a lot of ways, however you want to say it. And he ends up going on to have 15 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and an offensive rebound putback late in the game that ends up winning them the game. So those are things that we try to teach our guys. Okay, so the first day of we can get together with the guys, those clips are going on the screen. Because if you can't control your emotions, you got no chance at anything. Right. So.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to take a little quick break, Bob. Half hour went by pretty fast. We're going to forgive 10 minutes.
45 minutes. Yeah.
But we want to thank Daggett Gilbert Funeral Home allowing us to be on air today. M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing. Don't need snow plowing anymore, but you need lawn care. Get hold of Matt at M&M Lawn Care. And you can't forget the body work that needs to be done on your car after hitting that deer. Get over to M&M and see the greatest personnel in the body shop business right on Maple Street in Big Rapids. And then when you're waiting for your car to get fixed, it might take a week or so. You can stay on the corner right there at Curries. Some people do in the cars back there. And eat hooked at Curries. Good ad, huh? Yeah, there you go. Back to you. Pat Curry, we're right here with Brian Miller at 103.9. We talk about with sports in Big Rapids. Well, we got a new sponsor. None other than the great body shop right on Maple Street, east of the bridge in Big Rapids, Michigan. It's called M&M Collision Center. They're celebrating 30 years of trusted, top-quality auto body repair and remains the name you can trust. Whether you have a major collision repair or a minor fender bender, our award-winning team has you covered with free loaners and vehicle detailing with every repair. They work with all insurance companies and treat every vehicle like it's one of their own. From auto body repairs to supporting local community organizations, giving back to the community is part of who they are. Come see Matt and Devin and Trish and Justin. Just a great group of people there. Come and see why Big Rapids trust M&M Collision Center of Big Rapids, where quality and community come together.
This is Alec Gary of Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes in Big Rapids and Barrington. I believe what sets Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes apart from everyone else is our commitment to service excellence. When a family calls, we are there before, during, and after the funeral experience. I want you to be able to trust calling us. You know, we're here to guidance and counsel each and every single family to each and every single need. And we just feel like the commitment to families, especially ones that put their care and trust in us, we are going to go above and beyond to do anything we can to help a family during their time of loss. This is Alec Gary, a legacy of service, a promise of care with Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes, located in Big Rapids and in Barrington.
M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing has been in business for over 30 years, gaining the trust of Big Rapids and the surrounding communities. M&M Lawn Care can handle all your lawn care needs, as well as tree jobs and including removal. Call for a free quote, 796-4956. They're fully insured. Call M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing.
Proud local sponsor of Curries Hot Stove League.
Come say cheers at Zot's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zot's, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zot's Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. When was the last time you checked your tires? At Big Rapids Tire, they know how important it is to keep your ride smooth, safe, and reliable. Whether you're cruising down the highway or navigating tough weather, a fresh set of tires ensures you're ready for anything. Their expert team will help you find the perfect tires for your car and get you back on the road with confidence. Brakes, alignments, struts, and shocks, they do those as well. Don't wait for a blowout or worse. Visit Big Rapids Tire for unbeatable prices, quality, and peace of mind. Big Rapids Tire, Northland Drive, just north of town.
Pete, why do you come to Curry's?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I go to Curry's to get that cheeseburger with caramelized onions and mayonnaise and ketchup. And you're not going to ask, where's the beef? It's going to be in the bun.
You can talk baseball.
Bob, Zot's Bar and Grill. Love Roxanne and Doug. I tell you.
The best burgers in town.
Yep, and the reason is Doug stays out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Doug stays out. Roxanne's in the kitchen with her sisters and her nieces, and geez, got a great group down at Zot's Bar and Grill. So if you need a good hamburger or the best soup in town, and always
seafood
cold
chowder.
beer, everything but weed they have. We don't need weed. Well, our guest today is Brooks Miller. I tell you what, I love people, and I love people that have energy. And as you get older, I remember my dad always hung around with Bill Shively at the football games. And Bill's young enough to be my dad's son. But my dad said, hang around with those young guys, they'll give you energy. I want to hang around with Brooks Miller. I tell you, Brooks, I'm very impressed. You're real. You're a real person. And that says about your parents. They did a great job on you. I always compliment the parents, and like you said, your grandparents were a big influence on you. I just want to touch about your dad a little bit. Now, I don't want to bring tears because I miss my dad. He lived a good life, short, 74 years old. And when you told me you lost your dad at 15, it's amazing how the brain reminds you of other people that have had that scenario, and the one is Jeff Smith. You probably never knew Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith came to Ferris State, played football for Jeff Pierce back in the 90s, along with Ed Fillion, that group. Oh, God, they were just the best guys. I loved them. They all worked for me back then because they needed jobs. Ferris didn't have a lot of scholarship money back when Jeff coached. So Jeff would call me up and say, hey, I need this guy to have a job. And turns out Ed Fillion ends up playing for Buffalo Bills.
Wow.
Ed and Ann live here now. They came back to Big Rapids because...
Great family.
Well, they could have went to Buffalo or Orlando or stayed in Montreal, Quebec, where he retired from coaching up there. But they picked Big Rapids. I tell people, you guys better take pride in Big Rapids. It's not because we're a huge city. We have a huge heart. People like our heart. So anyway, that being said, Jeff Schmidt comes to Big Rapids, worked for me. Now he heads up a big firm. He's done very well for himself, but he's done well for a lot of other people too. But Jeff lost his dad at an early age. And I always felt bad for him because he never got to see his dad be his grandpa. Not his, but his kid's grandpa. I have 7 grandchildren. I'll just share for a moment. I really am close to my grandchildren. And like you were close to your grandfather. I hope I live a long life for them. I took a good friend of mine to a cancer center in Grand Rapids one time, and I'll never forget it. We got in this dark room, all these cancer people, and they're getting treatment. And they're all dying. I mean, they're all sick people. So I said to the receptionist, this is years ago now, mind you, before my grandchildren. I said, these people are dying in here. Yeah, she goes, they are. Well, we're all dying. I said, but they're going to die quickly. Yeah. Well, why are they doing this? What is their reason to live? I don't think I want to live through the pain and the anguish. And she goes, you know what the number one reason is if you went out there and asked every one of those people? I said, no, I have no idea. They want to see their grandchildren grow up.
Yeah.
their grandchildren's their priority in life. That's me now.
Yeah.
So I get on that treadmill and I go to the doctor. I just had a colonoscopy, which came out pretty good, Bob. They said I was the perfect hole. But anyway, and just to plug in for Denasia down there, south of town,
yeah.
They did a wonderful job. The people, her staff, class act. I was greeted there, treated really well. They gave me a clean gown. And, of course, Mother made sure I wore clean underwear. Everything went well. But if you ever had to go, that's the way to go. You never know when they're putting you out. Enough said. Anyway, getting back to our guest, just wanted to share a little light in your life up this morning. But anyway, that being said, your dad, you were 15 years old. You were playing sports. The world, was it a sudden thing? Or?
Yeah, it was. He used to, I read about once, I'm trying to think back now. I think it was probably about once every 6 weeks he would come. Maybe it was 8 weeks or whatever, but you get the tap on the shoulder. It was time to load the pigs and take them to the market. So, and he'd give you a heads up the night before, but you always kind of hope like maybe he's just going to do it himself. Mm-hmm. And, but I'd get that tap on the shoulder probably around 6. We had an old farmhouse. It was freezing in there all the time. We had one furnace in the middle of the house, and he'd come he goes, get your boots on. So we go out there, load the pigs, do all that stuff. We never really went on family vacations that often because somebody had to take care of the pigs. And so you went in the morning and then you'd have to do chores at night. And the older I got, the more I had to do them, which was good. One time I left the cordless phones came out, I don't know, 89, maybe 90, 91, something like that. Because I was probably 11 or 12 years old, and we had a cordless phone. It could actually reach out to the barn. And, I'm in junior high now, so I'm working the scene a little bit more. And so they're at a wedding, and I'm out in the barn doing the water, and the phone rings, and I get on the phone, and usually what I do, I get a little plastic wiffle ball bat. I take rocks, and I hit them in the field, but now I'm on the phone, and so I get caught up in this phone call. I go in the house. I never shut the water off. So this is like 6 o'clock in the evening, and we probably had, these were gigantic gallon tanks that were filling up, and I woke up that morning, the next morning on Sunday, when I thought he was going to kill me, and he goes, hey, did you shut the water off last night after you did chores? And I was like, no. He goes, well, come take a look. The barn, these pigs were like running, and they were literally hydroplaning through the barn. There was probably, the pond was down about 3 or 4 feet, and I don't know how many gallons, but I had to go out there. I've never seen him so calm, though. I thought I was going to get killed. He's like, here, you got to scoop out every one of those feeders, get all the water out of there, and you're going to have to, get the straw down here, then you're going to have to scoop it, you're going to run the bobcat, put it in the spreader. And it was amazing. But going back to that, but my dad, after he would do chores at night, he would grab me too and say, hey, let's go play wiffle. My dad and I played wiffle ball for hours, all the time. We played wiffle ball a ton. So that was my quality time. And he coached me in everything, whether it was basketball or Little League, growing all the way up until about 7th or 8th grade. But I was always real close with him and just always admired his thought process. But again, he had a lot of friends. So there was always people that he was the... In the booster club, he was the president club at the high school, and he was just a big community guy. And again, through softball, we always had softball tournaments. Like, I was counting up the championships I was a part of. Which championship is the most special in the top 10 that I've won? And as we got older, we used to watch our dads play softball at the Lions Chicken Barbecue, the Berkey Chicken Barbecue, in the Metamora Parker-Ramos. So we called those the Corn Belt tournaments. Those are the Corn Belt. And if you could win those, that was kind of a big deal. And as we got older, we got pretty good. So when we were in college, we actually won all 3 of them one year. And the competition then was different. Actually, softball was kind of fun, and we traveled all over the state, actually up here in Michigan too. But we won. That was one of my best top 10, I think, championships, was winning all 3 of those. But again, that was because of my dad and their friends, and you just admired their relationships and the things that they were able to build, and the strength of the community, and that was always a lot of fun. So.
But your dad passed.
Yes, he passed when I was 15. So I was playing football. I had my last game of the year at Montpelier High School. And then he was taking my family, and they were sitting around in the living room beforehand, and he went out. But you think about how lucky you were. So he had a valve issue, and basically what happened, the valve opened up, never closed, so everything kind of just rushed in, and it was pretty instant to an extent. But if that would have happened 30 minutes later when they were in the car with all 4 of them and he was driving, things would be a lot different too. Right. So it was an experience that was pretty unique. And then that wasn't the worst day though. It was the next day.
Pretty hard. We'll talk about faith a little bit. I can tell you have a lot of faith. You believe in God. I had a similar situation, and he gave up God after that. He said, there can't be a God to allow that to happen to my dad. You, on the other hand, you embrace God. And
well, that goes through your head. I mean, it still does, but you have to know that there's no way it's just impossible that this whole thing and the strength of, of the Catholic faith, that it can be that strong without there being some real solid foundation to it. So, my wife and I, we pray every night before we go to bed, and we have a little routine of prayers that we say, and then everybody gets to say their own, and we usually end it with, we pray for all the animals to cross the road safely tonight. And so on the way there, my daughter wants to be a veterinarian, so she loves taking care of the animals. So nothing drives her crazier than when she sees something laying on the side of the road. So that's one of the prayers we have. But no, we're a close family. Faith is, our kids right now go to Sacred Heart. We'll be coming over here to join the parish over as soon as we get moved in June. But yeah, it's really important. And again, I grew up in the church, so there was nothing like the Sunday bazaar at the St. Mary's or like I said, the Catholic War Vets events that we used to have, and it was just a big part of our life. And again, I think no matter what you believe, it brings people together and gets you to understand that there's something more important than me. There's a bigger picture here, and how can I contribute to the bigger picture? And that's what I've always been thankful for.
So, you're a winner, obviously. You've won a lot of things in sports. How are you planning on instilling in your players the model that you were set to be? You're a winner. I mean, my question, I guess, you're not used to losing. You've always been fortunate enough for your talent, your faith, and believing in teamwork. You're going to work with this Ferris State this next year. Last year they didn't have a very good year. Coming off that, their players you've got coming in, starting with scratch pretty much. I know you're going to be very successful, but it's going to take time. How is that going to affect you mentally when you come home to your wife and say, gosh, darn it, we got beat by 3, or even if you get beat by 20? You rebound, you got to rebound. How's that going to affect you?
Well, I think being with Coach Bronkema last year, we knew what we were, he had never lost. He lost his first year, I think, here at Ferris was his only losing record. And then we were having a ton of success at Trine when we got together. Now, we went in there with the plan that we were going to compete for a championship right away. Now, once we kind of realized that was going to be a tougher goal to win a regular season, and then we focused on the tournament and just getting an opportunity. But I think it gave me a brand new appreciation for the journey and what we're actually trying to accomplish. So winning can be seen in a lot of relative ways. For right now, the biggest part of winning for us in May is making sure we're getting the right people in that locker room. So we're putting a lot of time and effort into making sure we have the right individuals. And it's not always, who you want. I've heard, I don't know who said this, I stole it, but it's not who you want to win with, but who can you lose with, and who can you learn, who's willing that you can surround yourself with, that when you do fail, is going to help you learn from those mistakes and grow and be more successful. So in sports right now, especially as we get in college, the higher you go up, everything is based on wins and losses. But I still think I'm at a point in my career where if we really focus on making them better, getting them to play together more, understanding the real values that I talked about earlier, the winning will come with that. And I think the timing of it, there's just so many factors involved. So, our season could change tomorrow with one commitment, and our season can change in a week with an injury. So when it comes to the left and right hand columns, but I still think last year with Andy, I think we really came together, and what we learned from it the most was, don't worry, let's just approach every day with a ton of enthusiasm and get these guys to understand that there's still a chance for us to improve and a chance to be successful at the end of the year.
WBZX Big Rapids.
I tell people, if you want to be successful in life, especially if you want to be successful in business, as Brian is in the business, he's a Mecosta County Sheriff, and he did this very well. The first thing you got to do is believe in yourself, and then the next thing you got to do is sell yourself to that person that you want to believe in you. That being said, when you go out to recruit, how do you separate yourself from, like, Saginaw Valley coach? Why would a guy come to play with you, Coach Miller, to play for Coach John Doe? What do you do to enhance that guy to come? Because Big Rapids is a small town, let's face it. We have a great university. The president up there is doing a lot of great things. You've got a great athletic director up there right now, and we've had some great ones. I love Perk Weisenberger. I tell you, one for him, we wouldn't be sitting here right now, I don't think. But anyway, we got some great people up there putting money into the programs. When you go sit down with a young man, what do you talk about?
Well, it starts with that leadership. It starts with Ferris State. It always starts with Ferris State. Like, what can Ferris State offer you that's unique, a unique experience? And to me, it is the leadership. Everywhere I've been where we've had success, it had everything to do with the leadership. I was just another part of it. I was just another teammate as the head coach. I just had a different role. But it was at Trine, it was Dr. Earl Brooks, and it was Rick and Vicki James, and they wanted to be successful in basketball, so we were able to do that. I think what Dr. Pink has shown in his time here, and I've been following the program closely with Coach Bronkema, his investment in winning and success, and I don't want to say winning as much as giving the resources to our student athletes that is a unique experience compared to who we're competing against. Our kids have everything they need to be successful. They have to choose not to be successful. So I think that's what we're selling first. And what Steve Brockelbank has done, the support he's been able to give these athletic programs with Coach Tia and volleyball going to the Elite Eight again and having the year they had. And then obviously the obvious one is football with the 4 to 5 national titles. But tennis is knocking it out of the park. They just had a lot of success. I think our women's golf team is in the national tournament right now. I think there's a lot of things going on here that you sell. And I think the people that you'd be amazed when these guys come to campus with their families, they recognize that. They recognize the excellence. I had a young man in from Montreal last week, and he said, man, everybody wins here. And I said, that's right. And I said, and we will too, especially if you say yes. So, yeah. And then when it comes to me, I think I'm a piece of the puzzle. What I can show them is my plan element for them. That's what I can promise them, is that they're going to get things from me. There's going to be no elephants in our locker room. Everybody in that locker room is going to know exactly what that young man does well and what he needs to avoid. And we're going to help him in both of those. We're going to help put him in situations to be successful, and collectively we're going to do everything we can to keep him out of situations where he's going to fail. And we're going to remind him and hold him accountable in that area. I think that, the staff that I've been able to be a part of, the assistant coaches I had at Trine University was remarkable. Drew Lehman being a Ferris State grad and taking us we had an undefeated season in 2021 during that COVID year, and they canceled the Division III tournament. So we created our own national tournament. We were number 2 in the country, and Randolph Macon was number 1. And I picked up the phone. I said, hey, Coach Merkel, I said, why don't we do this like football and do a bowl game for who's going to win the whole thing? And we were able to put it together. We had Coach Dockich and Reese Davis have it on ESPN. We got more recognition on ESPN for that game than we actually did for winning the national championship. It was pretty amazing. But Drew was a big part of that staff. So his ability to relate to the players as a former player. We're going to hire Cortez Garland, my point guard in the national championship team. I think his ability to communicate my vision to the players, having done that in just 1 year with me, with our staff, is an unbelievable resource. Again, what resources can we provide for them to be their best? And like I told you, we value nutrition, we value gear, we value travel. We're gonna travel as well as we can within the budget that we have. But all that money is going to invest in their experience, and I think that's really important. And when it comes to basketball, they got to want to play together. If it's a guy that that dribbles the ball a lot and is really good in isolation, Kyrie Irving's had a lot of success doing it. LeBron James has had a lot of success doing that, although he's quite a team guy too. But there's ways to do it that way, but our way is more collective, and they got to want to be a part of something like that. So I think what we do can take a guy that's maybe not as gifted and make him a better player, as opposed to, really putting the spotlight on one great player.
That's what, looking back, I love that song. Looking back. Who sang that, though?
Not a clue.
Looking back. It's a country western. Denise came here in 2012, I think, or whatever it was. He had to do a lot of rebuilding. He did, and obviously history shows what he did. But back then, we didn't have the Portos. That's
correct.
Yep. Right. So he went out and reached out and got kids to play, and you touched on exactly what he did. He took some undeveloped kids and made them into superstars. Well, now it's a different world. You get a good guy in there, and all of a sudden he's gone. Well, let's just talk about football for a minute. People now want to send a kid up to play for Tony Anise. They don't care about the money. They want to win that championship. And then they know by winning a championship, they're going to look good enough to go somewhere else. 2 years, we've lost some great players, but he fills their shoes pretty easily. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I went into my closet this morning, and I thought of Tom Ludwig, and so I went to my Ferris attire on, right? And I got this grid. It's football. I'm thinking it's basketball. This thing is from the 90s. And so I wanted to wear it to impress you this morning, which I don't think I did a very good job. But I went in the station with it on. Shyly, I said to him, how many do you remember these? And Bill said, oh, I got one of those hanging up. It's about 54th one down the line, because that was back in the early 90s. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what are you doing with it on today? I said, well, I got the basketball coach I told you about yesterday, Brooks, coming in. He goes, that's football. Gridiron's football. I said, well, still, it's Ferris, right? I guess I'm going to have to get something from the basketball. I didn't pick the right one. But anyway, that being said, money. It's all about money. So now here you are, a new coach. I know you have a God gift because of what your parents instilled in you. You believe in him. You believe in the human can be better than they actually are sometimes. I know all that. But you're going to develop these kids. How it'd be tough to retain them.
Yeah, this is a totally different job than it was 2 years ago. Yeah. So, and Andy and I talked about that a lot. We're not going to be able to do it the same way he was able to do it through really in the way we did it at Trine. When I was at Trine, the last 7 years, going up to 2025, we had one player transfer in 7 years. Wow. Now, we brought in a lot of transfers. We utilized the portal well, and I know so did Coach Bronkema. But, you know, it is way different now in the last 2 years. And even at Central Michigan, the job changed in 1 year. We had the first year of revenue sharing last year in the MAC. And now in year two, all the departments had time to realize how they can utilize their resources and move forward. So for us, you know, if a guy scores double figures in Division II, he thinks he's going to go make at least $50,000 in Division I. So if they have those opportunities, you know, whether it's $50,000 or more, I think it's, you know, we'll support them exploring those and seeing is that worth more than competing for a championship here at Ferris and that Ferris degree, because that alumni base matters. I can't tell you how many people that I've met that I didn't even know were Ferris, that are so proud of their Ferris State degree. And that's what we're going to continue to instill in these young men and everything. So that stuff's really important. But we're going to develop as well. We're going to have people coming into the program. Like right now, we have a couple grad transfers that have signed with us. We have some guys that have transferred to a better Division II. They feel like we have more resources here. We have Division I transfers coming in. We have some really good freshmen coming in. We have a young man, Jalen Cooper, who signed with us. He signed at Eastern Michigan actually in the fall with their coaching change and some other situations. We were able to get him here to come play for us. So, you know, Jalen's got a lot of work to do, but we're going to be able to surround everybody with some really high quality level. But our job, again, is to develop them and find out what's best for them. But in the meantime, when you're recruiting, everybody, no matter what they say, okay, everybody wants to play. It's playing time first, and then it's how many shots am I going to get second, and it's winning third. And football's probably a little bit similar in terms of, like, if a receiver, he's going to want to touch the ball X amount of time, whatever it is. Now, there are the few that winning does come first. What I mean by that is they know if they're a part of a winner, then that will they will get to wherever they want to go, no matter how many points they score. I worked for Bob Knight, who won national titles. I worked for Steve Green, who won 3 national championships in junior college. I worked for Ed Dalma, who won a national championship at the Division III level. Never one time did we recruit a player and say, you know what, how many points a game does he score? We don't care. Right. It's about when you watch a guy, and, you know, we talk about the people side of things. How are they carrying themselves out there? How are they making everybody else on the floor better? Because that's really what makes a difference. And I think that we've had we had a couple of All-Americans for us at Trine that averaged like 8 points a game in high school. But they got to Trine, and they took advantage of the resources we had there and became All-Americans. And I know Coach Bronkema did the same thing here. So we're going to try to continue to do that and develop guys, knowing that we may be having to replace them after 2 years.
I know we're losing time here, Bob, but Jen wouldn't mind us keep going on this. This is very interesting. In my day, Bobby Knight was probably the most noted basketball coach in America. They tried to destroy him.
They did.
That was unfortunate because, I mean, he did so much for college basketball that it's never been matched as far as I'm concerned. But I grew up in the 70s watching ball. That being said, what is he really like?
He's funny. He was really funny. I mean, and you had to always be careful how hard you laughed or because he'd get you too. But the intensity level was through the roof, and it was nothing that you could mimic or try to do the way he did it. When he walked onto the court when we were doing shooting drills, everybody made sure they stepped in a little bit harder. Or the pass, for me, I was a player development guy as a GA, so I'd pass over 5,000 passes a day, and you made sure they hit him in the chest. Or if I'm running a drill, I'm making sure that I'm doing everything, I'm communicating everything perfectly. And then in the office, if he was around, back then we had the flip phones. This was before text and smartphones and all that. You made sure you had your phone on vibrate, and you didn't want to distract anything. And you always hoped the more you hung around, every once in a while he'd say, all right, boy, get here and learn something. And you get an extra film session with him, just one-on-one. I had a couple of those that were some of my favorite moments in coaching. So real lucky. But he was hilarious. He was really a funny guy, and he just... he wanted people to want things as bad as he wanted it, especially when it came to winning. And, I don't, or at least match that intensity. And I think when they didn't, that's when you saw some of the confrontation, because he was an honest guy. And he wanted everybody to know this is what I believe it takes to win. And everybody does it differently. So he's all on the same page.
But he must did what like Tom Ludwig did. Tom Ludwig, to me, was probably one of the best coaches I ever knew. And I sat in his locker room. Tom used to really get the community involved. Not that Andy didn't, not that Bill didn't, but Tom really went down to the gas station. Bill did too, and so did Andy. I'm not knocking any of them. But Tom would say, come on, Pat, I want you to be my assistant coach. So I would go and sit with them on the bench during the game. I would go in the locker room at halftime and listen to his speech. He was an inspiration to a lot of those guys. He loved Tucker. He loved those guys. He had some great players. He treated them just like they were his kids. But on the court, he treated them like men. You got to play like men. And so he was very strict. And he wanted to play by play. You play it this way. You play, just like you're going to be and like Andy is. But he touched the wrong toes, said the wrong thing. Boom, you're gone. I think that's probably what happened to Bobby Knight. But Tom Ludwig should have and could have took us to a long, long championships year after year after year. But it was unfortunate he didn't, and life went on. He's fine. But Bobby Knight must have somebody's told there in Indiana.
Well, when you have a platform like that, you're never going to be perfect. I mean, when you're talking all the time in front of people, especially now with social media, everybody's got a camera. Right. I mean, none of us are perfect. So when you're in the spotlight, you're very vulnerable to making a mistake and not being able to explain how that happened. So I just think that with Coach, his intensity level was so unique, and I think that the speed of what we did at practice every day, the little details, sprinting to screen, finishing your cuts. Everybody's. I go back home to Joe's Tavern, where basically I grew up. It's not just Big's bar now, but it's in Metamora. It's the only bar, and I go sit there at the same stools my grandpa sat at, and his friends, and my dad, and everybody. And they say, "Well, what'd you learn at Texas Tech? What'd Coach teach you?" Right. I said, "Shot fake." He taught us how to shot fake, and they're like, what? I said, no. I said, the game is not, you can't complicate winning in anything that you do. You have to be prepared. You have to work towards the goal and keep it as simple as you possibly can. So those are things we're going to try to do in our program, really alleviate some of the pressure and the thought process during the game so the guys can play with great speed. But you brought something up. I know you're lobbying for an assistant coaching job here, Pat, but we are planning here moving forward is we're planning to honor a local veteran every month. Here for one of our games. So what we'll do is, we'll take that veteran will be able to hang out with the team a little bit, talk to the players before the game in the locker room. So we're working on, Dr. Buckingham has been fantastic with me since I've been here. I've just loved our conversations. You talk about a guy with energy and passion and love. He loves Ferris State basketball. I think Ferris State athletics in general, but him and I and the Rebounders Club are working on a way to get our players to understand that, hey, you guys, some of you are out here playing for free. I get to do this for a living because of people like this. So they're going to hear those stories, and they're going to be a part of our program, and those are things that we want to do here at Ferris State to again, teach our players and help develop them to what we feel is important.
I want to question now a young man, I think of Tim Heiss's son. Drew, is it, the oldest boy?
Cole.
He a fantastic young man, academically and athletics. He was very good at 3 sports in Big Rapids. I think he's finishing up baseball right now with Cam.
Yep.
And I think he alluded to the fact on the radio here on his show that eventually he wants to be a coach. What would you say to a young man in the high school days who's not even done with his college playing career yet, but in the back of his mind, he wants to coach someday. He wants to be like, he has mentors like yourself that he's looking up to and saying, I want to be like that guy. There's ups and downs in your career. You're 46 years old. You've got a lot under your belt to get where you're at. At times, was there any time in your life that you said, I think I want to go home and be a pig farmer?
Well, you know what I mentioned earlier, I said, you learn a lot of life lessons through basketball. There's been plenty of nights where I've said, I think I've learned enough life lessons through basketball. I can start my life and do something else. But no, it's, you have to be willing to handle the highs and the lows, and you got to drop your ego. I've made a lot of investments in my career. I think I interviewed for the head coaching job at Hillsdale College back in 2007 before I left to go to become a graduate assistant at Texas Tech. So I was one of 3 finalists for the Hillsdale job, and I'm in the office going, hey Brooks, go to Starbucks, grab us some coffee. Here's $20. Keep the change. So that was an investment I made to learn more from great coaches. And I think that, after having the success we had at Trine and what we were doing, and I knew what Andy was doing here at Ferris was unique. And him and I, we believe in the same stuff, but we have different methods. And when he had the chance to get the Central Michigan job, to me, I wanted to be a part of what he was doing. I wanted to see what they were doing here at Ferris, how was he getting that done? So when he asked me to be his associate head coach, even though the head coaching role was significantly different, I was taking a step back there. To me, it was an investment in learning from another great coach that I admired, not just as a coach, but as a close friend. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I thought I could obviously contribute a lot too. So did he. That's why I was there. But I wanted to learn too. And I wanted to see, how he was doing it and how I could add that to what I was doing. And it really helped shape my perspective. I think if I would have had an opportunity, if I would have took the head coaching job at Saginaw Valley or Ferris State from Trine, I still think we could have did a great job and everything would, we would have figured some things out. But having made that investment with Coach Bronkma, and I don't know what the wins and losses are going to be here for us this year, but I can tell you right now, being with Coach for 1 year has prepared me so much more to have this responsibility right now than it would have if I just would have came here from as the head coach at Trine.
Being married for 44 years, May 15th, which is coming up, Friday is my anniversary. I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary and thank you for staying with me for 44 years. I contribute a lot to my success in business. I really mean this, folks, to my wife. She's the young hero of Curries. She's never been the face of Curries. She's never worked a till in her life. I don't think she's ever waited on a customer. But without her, I wouldn't have the success that I have today. And I'm kind of semi-retired. I go in and help the boys a little bit, but I'm out of the decision-making. But in the course of my life in business, which was spanning, say, 50 years, I've been married to her for 44 years. She has gave me an invaluable advice at times. And everybody always thinks, oh, Pat's a great businessman. Well, not everybody. Some people think I'm a failure. But that's okay. I know what I've achieved, and I've achieved God's will, what he wanted me to achieve. And I do believe in God. But without a partner like her, I wouldn't be as successful as I am. I definitely wouldn't have what I have to live on. That being said, how invaluable is your wife to you and your profession?
I talked about the investment I made in my career, but the biggest investment I've ever made is my relationship with my wife. The team side of things. Like you said, it's remarkable. She's so accomplished. She could be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company on her own if she wanted to. But, we wouldn't be able to do the things we're doing and having the impact on these young people without her willingness to want to move. We moved 7 times our first 8 years together in coaching until we finally got to Trine, and then she moved up to being the senior vice president and chief of staff there at Trine. They wanted her to be the president, but it was having the young kids and me being in coaching, it was going to be a tough thing to do. But she was a huge administration. But, my wife organized free beer night for our game against Missouri St. Louis at our place. She had she got the fan buses around. We set the record for attendance at Trine University in Division III. We set the record. We had 20,000 people come watch us at the MTI Center in 2024, and we set the record for attendance in a national championship game in Fort Wayne that year. And she had a whole hell of a lot to do with that. But just I talked about accountability. We're all accountable to someone. We're all accountable to God, but I'm accountable to her in a lot of ways, and she helps keep me on that path and remind me what's important and who we are as a family and what we're trying to accomplish and the impact we're trying to have on young people. But yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better teammate than my wife, Gretchen, and we met at Hillsdale. And I remember Coach Saul, when Coach Saul recruited me, it was in May. I think I was late. Maybe it was April, late April. And we're walking around the Hillsdale campus, and Coach Saul says, "You see that place right there? You may meet your future wife there, and then your life will be set." And I didn't know what he meant by that at all. But now I got it. I met my future wife, not at that house. Maybe it was one down the road. But she helped set me up for success in so many different ways. Her compassion, her support, and the way we've been able to raise our kids in a like-minded home, and the sacrifices she has made as an individual for my success as a coach, but as a family, has just been tremendous.
Where is she from?
She grew up, was born in Lansing, but she grew up she went to Andrean High School, the region they call it over there in Crown Point, Gary, Indiana. Her stepfather Ted, is like a father to me. He was in the FBI, so he's a retired FBI agent. So they moved around a little bit. She was in Atlanta for 1 year, but she did most of her time there in Northwest Indiana. And then her mom Margaret moved to Angola, close to us, and she's been a big part. She's had a lot to do with our success too, both her and my mom coming out to help us when Gretchen and I were both working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, having her there and having my mom come up. So it was, it's just been a real team. And that's what I want to help our young people understand, that you have to surround yourself with great people that complement what you do well. And I think that when you're building a team or you're a part of a team, the older you get, the more you get to recognize that, hey, this isn't about me as much as this is just my role in the whole thing. And my wife has been significant in that.
Sounds like Pierce Jr.,
Yeah.
Jeff and Susie, when they were here. I don't know if you remember Jeff Pierce. He was our football coach for many years here, played football here. And we still have a bond to this day, but Susie was the backbone of the family. She really kept the boys going when Jeff was out busy coaching, and greeted every parent, knew everybody by their first name. I'm sure your wife is going to be just like that. And we welcome both of you guys into Big Rapids. If there's anything to do at the Sheriff's Department, get a hold of Heather Miller. We'll give you her phone number in a little bit here. No, Heather's like that with Brian. When he ran for the first time, a little bit of story here, she wanted to put some big signs together, and it was kind of cool out, so she asked if she could use the garage. And I said, certainly. It was a Saturday morning. My wife was over there doing the books as she was every Saturday morning. Came out of the office and wondered what was going on and saw what was going on. And she goes, well, I don't know Brian that well, but I'll definitely vote for him. Any woman that supports her husband like she does has got to win this. And I'll never forget that. So, if you look at a successful man, 99.9% of the time it's going to be a more successful woman.
Absolutely.
Because she,
right.
Really, and I give women a lot of credit, because I just real quickly, like Bill Shibley. Bill Shibley's a great friend of mine, but his wife was even a greater wife to him than any friend could ever been to him, because she just a great lady.
Lynn,
we just have a lot of great ladies in this town. But welcome to Big Rapids. It's 25 after 10.
I wanted to give a couple shout-outs.
Oh, yeah, we will. You bet. Go ahead. But
no,
I'm telling you.
I don't want to interrupt you.
No, this has just been a great interview. We're going to have you back on. I know you'll be successful. I've judged people over my lifetime many a times. And the first thing I can do is look at somebody's eyes and see what they're saying. And you just say the right things, but the right things don't come from the mouth like mine do a lot of the time. Yours comes from the heart.
Thanks.
And yours comes from a generation back. It's not just you yourself, but you're representing your family. And your family instilled in you the faith that you needed in God. The family is instilled in your leadership. And one thing I love about you two, most of all, you believe in yourself. You're humbled by it, but you believe in yourself. I believe that you know you're a winner, and you're going to show your people how to be winners. Just keep being yourself, and you definitely will be a winner. Andy Brockham is that way.
Yep.
Andy's a winner. His dad was a winner. His grandfather was a winner. It's in the blood. Yep. Not everybody's made a great coach, but I can tell you right now, we're lucky at Ferris State. The doctor up there and the AD did a great job picking one. Hell of a good man. Brian?
Thank you.
All right. Well, I had some questions. Now, Is Drew Lehman coming to Ferris?
Oh, man,
to Ferris.
He was one of my first calls, but Drew is super successful. So Drew got out of coaching about 3 years ago, and he moved up, and he's working at Trine. He's an advisor and working in the higher education part of it, the master's program. So he teaches some classes, and he hires professors, and he advises. He's doing great. He's doing fantastic. He married a doctor, and I think I don't know if they just had their baby or if he's due or she's due this month. So he lives right on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota now, but he'll be back. I can't wait to get him and his family back here.
Really? They're coming?
Oh, yeah. Well, to hang out, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay.
So I did. You're a defensive-minded coach.
I think so. I think, if you
kind of look, I was looking at a bio. And, yeah, and I'm very much defensive-minded when I like to coach at St. Mary's.
Oh, he's a great coach at St. Mary's.
No, I don't want.
No, you are. You're doing a nice job.
But yeah, I like the defensive-minded aspect of things.
Yeah, I think those are things we can control more, and I think in life, anything else, you want to be able to control what you control. So there's certain things there that we can do to maybe, if we're working together, at least limit the opportunities for the other team. You can do everything right on offense, and the ball doesn't go in the basket. So, so there's some things there you may have some limitations to. So the goal on offense is to recruit really good players, get them to share the ball, and let them put the ball in the basket on their own. Yep.
How come, this is off the record here, but real quickly, how come I've been watching the NBA Finals? I haven't watched a basketball game in years, not NBA anyway. Yeah. How in the hell do they miss a 2-foot shot in the NBA? Those guys are 6'8", shooting at 1.5 feet from their hands, and they miss.
Well, the guy leaning on him 7'4" or 6'11", so it's not as easy as you think.
Okay, so that's what it is.
When fatigue comes into play, just like anything else.
No, but he got bumped.
Yeah,
see, I don't see that.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a lot, and then just sometimes they just miss.
Yeah, but that's hard to believe.
Yeah,
when you're doing that. But anyway, Bob, any questions, Bob? Anybody out there in La La Land want to call in? We're going to go to 3 more minutes, and then we're going to shut her down.
Big shout out Noah Brandt's birthday today. So Noah Brandt, I don't know, 21, 22 maybe.
Noah's birthday's today?
Noah Brandt, yes, sir.
Well, Austin's was this week, too.
Yeah. So
Cheryl and Ben, we bond.
Yep. He's going to be a dad here soon. So
yeah, he is.
And,
married a wonderful little one of my employees.
Yeah, and Shane Friends said he'd be listening this morning, so that's his son-in-law.
Yeah. Well, Shane did a great job on his little doll. She has just a beautiful little girl, and she'll be a wonderful mother. There again, she was a great athlete at Ferris, playing softball there, and I don't know. I'm so proud of so many people in that age group. And your group, Brooks, you're going to find that you have the Shane Prince, the Joe Van Coolens, the Nick Shibleys, the Brad Fass, the Tom Tacey's, the Matt Curry, the Adam Curry, just Brian Miller. You guys, America right now, I think, is going to turn the page to be a better. I hate to see the social media. I hate to see me lose friends. I've lost a great friend not too long ago. Has nothing to do with me anymore because my opinions on political beliefs. I don't hate him, but he hates me for my political beliefs. I feel bad for him. I really do. And you know what? That's sad that we have come to that point in America. But programs like this, we try to bring positivities here, and we have done that this morning. I think it's wonderful. I think your energy is what's needed. God has really brought you into the area, and you're gonna have a lot of people back you because of who you are and not what you're gonna do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean that. Don't you think, Brian?
Oh yeah.
Positivity is going to bring here to Ferris State, not only Ferris State, to Big Rapids. I'm looking forward to meeting your wife and your children. We can talk about them a little bit. What's their favorite games?
Well, whatever they're in. But my son loves basketball, and my daughter, right now, she's in softball. So she hasn't played organized basketball yet. We've kind of put that off to the side until she gets a little bigger and stronger. But she's pretty athletic. She's into things. So she's real creative, very creative. My wife was All-American State College.
Oh, wow, really? Well, my daughter-in-law was at Ferris State for a 4-year starter. But we won't.
Does Champ play baseball?
He does. He's playing baseball right now. It's
the Drillers?
What's that? Well, no, we wanted to play a little more basketball this spring. So those people were great. They gave him an opportunity, but we didn't know if we would be in transition in the spring. So we thought it would be hard to play travel if an opportunity came up. So we chose not to. But
maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Yep, that's correct.
Up and down. Sports go up and down. Right now, you're lucky to come into Big Rapids, and your children are, because right now we have some of the great greatest athletes coming up into high school, I think in the next 3 or 4 years, 5 even, girls and boys. I'm telling you what, and the biggest contribution is the parents. We have some great parents raising some great kids right now. And you talk about disciplined, aren't they, these kids?
Yeah.
I mean, your boy there.
They can be.
Huh? No, I mean, we got some great years coming ahead. So.
The ride back from Grand Rapids last night. I told you this morning between Ty Heiss, Jack Curry, and Mike Cooper in the back seat.
Did you have a recorder going?
Oh, it was awesome.
Was it? Yeah, I know. They have fun, don't they? God dang it. We should all be kids. We should all be kids. I tell you what, if we were, there would be no hate, would there?
No.
Huh? There would be, would there? It'd be all love, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Huh? All right. Well, I hate to give it up, Bob. I really do. But Jen and Dom, thank you at 103.9 for allowing us to be here. I want to thank God for letting me get up this morning and take a shower and drink that first cup of coffee that motivated me to get me here today. I want to thank Coach Brooks Miller. I think it's just a great thing that Ferris State has brought him on to be the head coach. I don't know where you were last year, but we won't bring the past up. We're going to bring the future up. And Coach Brian Miller from St. Mary's baseball now. So enough said. Anything last words from you?
No, just appreciate you guys having me on. I've really enjoyed it, and look forward to being more involved in the community and different things once we get moved over here in June. Depends on how quickly Shane Prince can get my basement done. Let's put some heat on Shane.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he's a great guy. He'll do a great job for you. But anyway, what we'll do this year, though, is call you up once in a while after a game.
Sounds great. Thank you.
See how you're doing and everything.
One more shout out to the Big Rapids High School varsity baseball team.
Yeah.
Last night won their conference championship 4th year in a row. But I remind them and everybody that the job's not done, and let's get a district title here in a couple weeks.
And where's that at? Districts.
Cadillac, I believe.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Is there a schedule out for districts yet? Who are in against?
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. You have to, but congratulations to Coach Gary, Coach Knuth, and Coach Zacco.
Oh, you know what? We're going to go past half the hour. Just saying it, half the hour. Brian Merrick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Tim Blashill. I'd like to have Tim back on and talk to him about his career, because I tell you what, not only was he a big part of Big Rapids hockey for many, many years, I don't know how many years, but that guy deserves a championship ring for all the children that he made into men. The other thing is, we wish him a happy retirement. He's got 2 young kids that he wants to be involved with, and I can't blame him there. But now going on, Brian Merrick, known him since he was a little kid, always been a winner, one of the greatest all-time hockey players Big Rapids has ever had. He's done a great job with the program. He's won a lot of games with that traveling team, and he's bringing a lot of enthusiastic ways of playing hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be good. So congratulations, Brian, and thank you, Tim.
Yep. All right, is that it?
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, God bless America. Well, that was great.
Come say cheers in Zott's Bar and Grill, downtown Big Rapids. Great food, prices, and great people. So come on down where everybody knows your name. Zott's Bar and Grill, the People's Choice Best Soup winner. The burgers are where it's at. Originally opened in 1933 with seasonal beers on tap, located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Zott's Bar and Grill is a proud sponsor of the Signature Player of the Week for the Hot Stove Sports League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
When was the last time you checked your tires? At Big Rapids Tire, they know how important it is to keep your ride smooth, safe, and reliable. Whether you're cruising down the highway or navigating tough weather, a fresh set of tires ensures you're ready for anything. Their expert team will help you find the perfect tires for your car and get you back on the road with confidence. Brakes, alignment, struts, and shocks, they do those as well. Don't wait for a blowout, or worse, visit Big Rapids Tire for unbeatable prices, quality, and peace of mind. Big Rapids Tire, Northland Drive, north of town.
M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing has been in business for over 30 years, gaining the trust of Big Rapids and the surrounding communities. M&M Lawn Care can handle all your lawn care needs, as well as tree jobs and including removal. Call for a free quote, 796-4956. They're fully insured. Call M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing.
Proud local sponsor of Curries Hot Stove League.
This is Alec Gary of Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes in Big Rapids and Barrington. I believe sets Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes apart from everyone else is our commitment to service excellence. A family calls, we are there before, during, and after the experience. I want you to be able to trust calling us. We're here to guidance and counsel each and every single family to each and every single need. And we just feel like the commitment to families, especially ones that put their care and trust in us, we are going to go above and beyond to do anything we can to help a family in their time of loss. This is Alec Gary, a legacy of service, a promise of care with Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes, located in Big Rapids and in Barrington.
Hi, this is Pat Curry. We're right here with Brian Miller at 1039. We talk about what's happening with sports in Big Rapids. Well, we got a new sponsor. None other than the Great Body Shop right on Maple Street, east of the bridge in Big Rapids, Michigan. It's called M&M Collision Center. They're celebrating 30 years of trusted, top-quality auto body repair and remains the name you can trust. Whether you have a major collision repair or a minor fender bender, our award-winning team has you covered, with free loaners and vehicle detailing with every repair. They work with all insurance companies and treat every vehicle like it's one of their own. From auto body repairs to supporting local community organizations, giving back to the community is part of who they are. Come and see Matt and Devin and Trish and Justin. Just a great group of people there. Come and see why Big Rapids trust M&M Collision Center of Big Rapids, where quality and community come together.
Big Rapids Tire, Zott's Bar and Grill, the Daggett Gilbert Funeral Homes, M&M Lawn Care and Snow Plowing,